all this policy of reducing the population in order to preserve resources, to distribute them among the number of people. But I heard a version that these clans, they want to reduce the number of people so that resources remain in order to sell them to some other, I don't know, civilizations, possibly some other specifically physical ones. You understand, right, what I'm talking about?
I understand, yes. We are talking about aliens now. I saw a question, by the way, in the chat, yes, about aliens. Right now, this whole story with the spheres is very widespread. It's everywhere. All my English-speaking students are writing to me. They're all writing to me, look what's happening here. America. And they send videos. So I analyzed these videos. We actually sat down and analyzed them with Nastya. So, well, it's not Photoshop. Definitely, it's not edited and it's not a drone. So, by appearance, it looks very much like what is called plasma orbs. There are live broadcasts. They now just, set up a camera and start a live stream. And there, I was actually on this live stream. You can really see the orb on the live stream. It just appeared, flew by and disappeared. They also shoot in time lapse, that is, with a cover. Filming lasts for many hours, they just appear. A bunch of balls, hundreds of balls, and gas too. Gas too, also arise.
Well, what could it be? How do you see it? At least approximately, at least some direction, right?
When I reach a higher state, and from there I kind of project a look at America. First of all, I get the feeling that there's some kind of illusion happening. That is, there isn't the proper charge that I could describe as being true. Like, really there, I don't know, an alien invasion or something else. It's like some kind of show. So, I'm going to double check again.
Aliens are putting on a show.
No, not aliens. Aliens have nothing to do with it, as if they have no connection. That is, it's not an alien code. That's the most important thing. Aliens, they have a specific alien code. Well, like something extraterrestrial. It's like, when you go there, conditionally, through Moscow and see an African, for sure, right, that at least his ancestors are not from Russia. They are at least not from here. You know this clearly. You can feel it from him, right? It's obvious that he's not from here. It's the same thing here. Aliens have an unearthly code. They exude unearthly energy, including if we're talking about energy. What is happening there now? I don't see any extraterrestrial code there. That's the main thing. That is, it's not there.
So we're discarding this theory. We're discarding it completely.
Not in that direction. Then what could it be? I want to double check something because it's just too wild. It looks right now. Listen, I see a show again. I see a show that was launched from here. I don't see any of these mystical stories here. This is a show that was launched from here, but at the same time, if we're talking about plasmoids, it is indeed a plasmoid. It is indeed certain spheres. It feels like if it was launched from here, then we already have forces that can, in fact, interact with the etheric plane. It's not technical. That is, it's like as if partially there are technical elements and partially it is indeed some kind of influence on the ether. Therefore, I believe that those very clans already can influence the etheric field so much that it will be visible just like that. I'll explain why I'm so surprised. The fact is, it used to be impossible to influence the astral etheric plane so strongly. That is, it could be done in various ways, including with very complex technical devices, arranging all sorts of things, but not to this extent. Clearly, hundreds of thousands of Americans, they see it, they are all filming it in some kind of countless amounts in this American segment of the internet. And one acquaintance from New York writes to me, she says, it's literally everywhere. It's everywhere with them, as if no one understands what's happening at all. And even Trump is saying, yes, tell people what's happening or shoot down these drones.
Listen, what's the purpose of this? Well, it's clear that this show is being staged. Well, I understand, by America, right?
Well, yes, America is staging it on its own, yes.
Yes. And what's the overall goal of this? To scare people?
I think to distract them. It's this again, this story about mass culture, because America has plenty of problems. That's the first thing. Then their government changed. What happened to them? They had certain clans, roughly speaking, that support the Democrats. And there were other clans that support the Republicans. They clashed. Essentially, they really fought very fiercely. And now Trump will come. He will cancel everything that was before. It's all the deep state, but the deep state, it is also not homogeneous. There are different forces there. No matter how many times we have examined the deep state, there are different forces there. They are not homogeneous. A number of forces, roughly speaking, support one perspective on how to behave, while other forces support a different perspective. They are all basically in favor of this story about the golden billions and so on. They all support this more or less, but with different methods. And the methods of the Democrats categorically do not satisfy the Republicans. And what's interesting is that the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict is now underway, and it is already moving towards completion. Absolutely certain. There will be possibly new conflicts arising, which will be sponsored by the United States, but not between Russia and Ukraine, rather between slightly different states. At this stage, I would put it this way. It's just a show to distract people from what is about to happen in the international market.
So, we should be preparing for some new events?
Yes. Yes.
Because, as a rule, such shows are staged before something grand.
Before something, yes. Yes, yes. So that people look more at the sky rather than around them.
But it's definitely not the Syrians, not some galactic generations. It's not some...
No. Honestly, I was shocked. I really thought it was aliens already. By the way, regarding the video about chips, I don't see aliens in the coming many years. Of course, it can change. The branch of reality might change somewhere, but usually it doesn't happen that quickly. It's not aliens, it's some kind of show, but involving, I would say, certain atheistic clans, with the involvement of technical means and generally with the use of various methods of influence, so to speak, on the internal electorate. And this show, notice, it doesn't go beyond the borders of the United States. If it were a planetary story, it would be everywhere, in Russia and everywhere else. But no, it's purely for the internal electorate. They made this show. It's very interesting.
Cool topic. Thanks for discussing it with us. There's another question. Have they already started cloning people?
There are certain technologies, certain developments. There is organ cloning, definitely. Animal cloning, well, naturally, definitely. Full, complete human cloning. Specifically cloning, what is understood as cloning, not eco or comb, not cultivation, like all these stories, but just complete human cloning. Completely without any, as they say, source.
But I'm talking about doubles? About doubles? About all of that?
No.
So Putin is not a clone?
No. Listen, we looked at Putin. I don't know what kind of strange esotericists are saying that Putin is a clone. In fact, again, every person, yes, has, first of all, a spirit. The spirit has its own handwriting. Well, there is a person's energy after all. But with Putin, just take a photo, his usual one, well, roughly speaking, over the last, I don't know how many, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, well, he has absolutely identical energy. Well, absolutely. You can create a visual and make clones, but the energy will still be different. If we are talking about clones that don't even have a spirit, well, one will have a spirit and the other won't. But in general, the difference, there will be a strong, obvious difference, noticeable at first glance. Putin has no differences. He is just as he is. Putin is just Putin.
Listen, is it possible to, through the higher self-touch, sort of properly say express oneself to the spirit of this person and see what his mission is. I mean, as I feel, yes, as I can feel that this is a very powerful person.
Look, I will now talk about Tara, insider information. Firstly, we examine Putin in terms of the age of the soul. This is a very interesting topic. What is the age of the soul? In fact, it is a very conditional practice because the spirit is immortal, but in the illusion of space and time, being here where there is linearity, where there is a past, where there is a future, and where there is my past life, 2 of my past lives, 3 of my past lives, in the illusion of space and time. It is a very conditional age of the spirit. Well, roughly speaking, who has more experience, who has more lives? This, by the way, does not always correlate with each other, but often he is, well, formally more mature. I have a whole series of 10 texts on this topic. I don't know if you've seen it or not.
Yes, I've seen it, but I haven't had a chance to read it.
In general, there it is. I describe each age of the spirit in detail. How does it look in general? What goals and tasks does the spirit take on for incarnation? At this stage of its development, at this one, at this one, at this one. Again, this is precisely within the illusion of space and time, because there is a very deep level of meditation where you see the world, there is no past, there is no future, and naturally, there can be no talk of any age there. Putin is one of the most aged politicians in terms of soul number. In terms of soul age, one of the most aged. We at our group, we studied Putin's soul number with, I think, 30 or 40 people. We really examined him thoroughly, and he has a strong mission. That is, he came here with a clear mission which he is fulfilling consistently. He is in his place. He is doing what he came here for. We may disagree with his politics, or on the contrary, agree with his politics. But again, I'm speaking here solely as an esoteric scientist. Usually, at his age, people are no longer involved in politics. Strangely enough, from a certain age of the spirit, politics ceases to interest.
Maybe simply he has such a mission that is significant and very global that he specifically chose this mission rather than going to other worlds, for example, with such a level.
It's a mission. It's a mission, absolutely clear. It's a mission. He consciously came here to do what he did. Because again, as we have already discussed today, we are experiencing a rise in vibrations upwards. Certain souls play on one lever in other countries, and certain souls play on the opposing lever in other countries. He is one of those who plays on the opposing lever. And since the country is very large, and since there are many who wish to influence such a large country with so many resources, and Russia has resources above the roof, 1 tree, 1 oil, how much is there? Enough for the whole world? And then some for many, many generations? Well, exactly. So therefore,
With the head of the mission,
he specifically came with a mission for Russia. The future of Russia is absolutely wonderful. Absolutely. There is nothing bad there. So we conclude that since a leader has come who has set such a certain direction and flow in the country, which has led to a more blessed, more harmonious, more positive future, it means his mission is true, blessed for this specific country. That's why we are here, you see. We never give evaluations here. I generally try never to give evaluations. We see the overall direction, and this direction, it is towards higher energies and vibrations which will unfold in Russia with each passing year, more and more clearly, more and more distinctly.
So can we say that he came to turn us onto some new branch of reality? Well, as I am from Belarus, but still close to Slavic people, like Russians, yes, to turn them in a new direction. You could even say in the world, because Russia is such a country, very influential. Cool. Listen, can we talk about branches of reality in general? Actually, I was shocked to find out that on some branches of reality, there are physical worlds. I thought they were just some informational offshoots, some potentials. It turns out that there are actual physical worlds there. And then I have a question. In these physical worlds, are there also souls? And do they also live through some kind of experience?
Yes, they do live through experiences. We actually have an entire series on this topic in our blog. Though it's not mine, it's Lyra's series. There are, in fact, main branches of reality. So much. I mean, you know what it's like? Roughly speaking, one branch is like a tree. From it, smaller branches extend, different branches, all sorts of branches in all sorts of directions. And essentially, these are branches from one main trunk. They are similar, they differ in some shades and nuances. These are more like branches of certain probabilities. I wouldn't say there's a whole world there, rather certain potentials through which energy can start to flow. And this is what they call parallel worlds. These are actual worlds. They differ very clearly, very significantly. And today, on planet Earth, we have several of these parallel worlds. There is a world that is very distant from us. In terms of vibrations, it is much higher. There are certain architects. It's not just random. By the way, this is for the viewers. If any of you have ever felt like you were modeling something, not on an earthly level, but on a subtle level, as if you were some kind of space architects. Perhaps you have some kind of connection. Then, with a high probability, it indicates that you somehow participated in this process. Maybe not on this planet, maybe on some other planet, but in some similar processes. If we are talking about an architect, yes, then the physics of reality, the physics of energy comes into play. Well, you can't just take one tree and place another tree on top of it. They will interfere. And here we are talking about different branches of reality. Specifically, these main branches, they are separated from each other by frequencies. That is, there are higher frequencies, separate ones. There are lower frequencies. It's similar to, I don't know, to how about this separating frequencies for radio or frequencies for cellular communication, for example, 4G, 5G. They are clearly separated. And there, by the way, for those who aren't aware, for example, the 5G network is a specific technology, but the frequencies of this, the technology has different frequencies in different countries. 5G operates, on one frequency in America, and in Russia, it will be assigned a different frequency. For example, as far as I remember, they had overlaps with military frequencies. So they came and they have, in Russia, those frequencies are used for communication between military departments. And they naturally said no. So we won't give you these frequencies. Please use any others.
You know what the question is? How does this awareness happen? So the creator, yes, he is aware of our experience. Well, for example, I perform some action, my two branches of reality appear. For example, I switch to another branch of reality. So am I experiencing both that experience and this one simultaneously? Or is it impossible for a person to have a physical branch of reality as well? Is that not possible?
So you mean, can a spirit live on multiple branches of reality at the same time, right?
Yes, meaning to be aware of oneself here and there.
Yes.
Is that possible?
It is possible, of course, it is. If we are talking about the parallel incarnation of a spirit, they can be on one branch, on another branch, on a third branch, and proceed, and they can literally proceed simultaneously. If you are a very sensitive person, you will feel as if you are living a life, but as if not here, as if somewhere not in this world, but simultaneously with this life, as if you are living another life. This is not the case for everyone, not for everyone. Not for everyone, but for those who feel this, perhaps it indicates that on one of the parallel branches of reality, you are living your your parallel life.
Wait, so it turns out that one soul, yes, or kind of spirit, has two bodies. So it turns out as if there are two branches of reality, then there are two bodies?
Well, look, the spirit, it's like the sun. It's like the sun. Moreover, it's a multidimensional sun. There, the higher it is, the bigger it becomes. More dimensions, more dimensions, more dimensions. And then it sends down. Like these little sparks, it can send not just one life at a time. It can send 2 lives, 3 lives. In this case, again, it's very important, guys. Look, in this illusion of space and time, but if we go even higher to where there is no space and time, it will be even more interesting because all lives in general, all lives, including past and future, will occur simultaneously. And here the human brain usually kind of folds a little.
Yes. It's the mind that interferes. It's all held even by attention. In order to understand.
All the guys who reach this level, they all say the same thing. Yes, that we reached a level where everything is one, and one is everything. This is a very well-known and ancient Chinese proverb. I have a friend, a Chinese guy, who used to love saying that everything is one. One is everything. This is a level of a certain approach to the spirit. It's a deep level. I've been there a number of times. But for this, you really need to delve deeply into your higher self. There you no longer see the past. There you don't see the future. There you don't see that this is your past life or future life. There, in the literal sense of the word, everything happens simultaneously. I would say that you, as if simultaneously even feel something in the lives of other people, something in this spirit. This is one of the main criteria, that you have truly reached some deep transcendental level. And from there, you take some kind of insight. If you can't describe it in words later, if you're just stammering, trying to find words somehow, stumbling, stuttering, mumbling, and you simply can't, because everything you say doesn't encompass the scope of what you see there. Therefore, it's a huge, huge art to learn to interpret what you see in the higher self. It's even more difficult than accessing the higher self. To speak frankly,
that is, you need to have a certain level of literacy, to even have the vocabulary for all of this. Exactly. Great motivation, friends, to decipher answers from yourself, read books. Does fatalism exist? Is there something that is 100% meant to be, and that's it? And no free will can help, and so on? Or is there no such thing?
There is what we say about fatalism, yes, meaning there are certain events that must happen, and you can't do anything about it. Well, and death, meaning is there a specific number of departures and a date of death, like exactly there, you'll die there, I don't know, at 80 years old, and not a year later, not a year earlier.
Yes, and you know what else? Then I'll just say right away, so you understand what to talk about. Sometimes something happens to a person and they say it's my fate and it was meant to be, it was and is meant to be. And I just feel that, but maybe that's not the case. And perhaps the person could have acted differently, could have done what they wanted.
Everything is very different. Life is very multifaceted. When someone says, this is white and this is black and this is white, it never finds confirmation in my higher self. Everything is very multifaceted. Everything is very different. I often like to use the example of the dress.
Is it white and gold or blue and black?
White? Yes, exactly.
But there I understand that it all depends on the lighting, how the eye is adjusted at that time.
It depends on the eye in the literal sense of the word. On the cones, on those very ones, on the number of those very cones, on different lenses. Some people see it white-yellow, white-gold, and some see it blue-black.
Yes, and at different times, different people see, that is, the same person can see it both white, gold, and blue-black. I mean, I've experienced that.
That's rare. Those are ambiverts. Those are, roughly speaking, ambiverts who sometimes see it one way, yes, sometimes see it like this, and sometimes seeing it like this. And how do you see it now if it's not a secret?
Well, right now I see it as black-blue.
Black-blue, right? And I also see it as black-blue. For me, it's always black-blue, regardless of the device.
Why? Because you and I are tuned the same way right now to some kind of wave, maybe, yes, no.
I think it's more about physiology. Purely physiology. The physiology of the eye itself. Yes, so your eye is just like that, sort of, it's borderline. It can see this way or it can see that way. By the way, in reality, it is blue-black. Where am I going with all this? I'm leading to the point that life is very multifaceted and very diverse, and people see it very differently. And if we see the dress differently, then how can we talk about some absolutely unshakable laws, fatalistic, for example, or non-fatalistic, that would apply to everyone? Absolutely. No matter how many times I delve into this topic in ISHN, I always see the exact same picture, that everything depends on the person, on life, on their goals, on tasks, on a bunch of different factors and parameters. For some people, for some, life is already clearly defined. By the way, chiromancy can help us here. I used to study chiromancy. It's a very interesting story. There is a line of fate. If the line of fate is long, clear, distinct, not interrupted anywhere, it actually indicates that the person has a more fatalistic destiny, because it is, as it were, already initially drawn. The line, it is just, however, no, not at all. It can change. The line of fate, it can change. If it goes straight from the bottom to the top, it indicates that you have a mission. A real mission. You might not even need to reach the higher self. This is a little help for you. And about such a person, sometimes they say fate leads the willing and drags the unwilling. So, it will still drag you to where you need to be. And sometimes there is no line of fate at all. Just none. Like, for example, with Yana, this indicates that her life is less fatalistic. That means more choices. I don't even know which is better. So these are just two different styles of embodiment. This also applies to the moment of death. Some people have special techniques to determine correctly. Give or take a year or two. The day of their death, my elderly relatives, we did this with them, and it matches up to the year. Being the higher self, you chose this life for yourself. You structured it while being your higher self. And you can try to sort of redo it at the higher self level, to change it. Specifically the date of departure, which doesn't fluctuate. But this is a very complex technique because, returning to the higher self, you understand again why you did it.
Yes, so it's like a crude intervention into your original, some kind of goal.
You see, the thing is, when you are at the higher self, you can never lie to yourself. You can never deceive yourself, because it's such a high level, you are completely honest with yourself. So, being there, you clearly know why you came here, and you lose the desire to change anything. Everything can be changed, but it's not always necessary to do so.
Dear friends, I invite you all to my course with a personal vision, Return to the True Self. This course has been around for over 12 years. And recently we launched it in English with my complete personal vision in 6 modules, working with blocks, working with egregores, working with the ego, contacting the higher self. Answers to simple questions, answers to more complex questions, and then there's what we call the Great Journey. It's contact with space, contact with the planet, contact with God, contact with anything, at your request, through the higher self. Health, finances, relationships, purpose, past life. The course is available at any time. You can sign up for it using the link below this video. Come on over, I'll be waiting for you.